Hello, my name is Sue Lewis and I'm going to be running you through this presentation, which is called What's New on Careerpilot in 2020-21. So I'm going to show you all the new features that we've got, but just to remind you some of the features we've already got, and to say that Careerpilot is a one-stop careers website for students who are year 7 to year 13. And we have a student zone, a reporting zone, an advisor zone, and a parent zone. And new for this year is something called the Pathway Planner. And we developed this through a bid from the National Careers and Enterprise Company. I'm going to be showing you that later on. I'm also going to show you some of our new resources and also explain about our free training offer for this academic year. And just to remind you too that we have a helpline available from 9 to 3 every day in term time. And mostly that's accessible at the moment through our email address, careerpilot@bath.ac.uk. So what's new on the student zone? So just to remind you what's already on the student zone. So this is the home page and shows all our main features. If students sign in to the site, initially they register and then they sign in. As they're using the site, they can be using our career tools. And that means they can be personalising the things they're interested in as they use the site. And that will create a report, which they could see. But you can also see that information in the reporting zone and analyse it in different ways. You can find out, for example, the job sectors the year 11 are interested in. In the top bar, we also have access to the advisor zone and the parent zone. So everything on Careerpilot can be accessed through careerpilot.org.uk. We've also got our popular tools at the top, like job profiles, course search, provider search, qualification planner, and we have over 1,000 video stories in the site that all tie into different sections. Then we have a 3-stage process, and this is what we're trying to encourage students to come back to when they make a career decision. You start with yourself, exploring where you're at, explore your options in some detail, plan your next steps. Or they could look specifically at a pathway they're already interested in, like A-levels, for example. So the way students tag things for their career tools report is on the top right-hand corner of most screens in Careerpilot, there's an option to add. And if they added this job, for example, in their job sectors, it'll show the jobs and the job sector that relates to. So they can keep building up their report as they use the site and keep changing it too, because they might decide they don't want to be an animal care worker, for example. So the 3 stages we have within Careerpilot start with you. So this is where we're trying to give students ways of actually thinking about themselves, thinking about what drives them, and that information then could help them think about a job or career for the future. So in this section, we have lots of quizzes, for example. In section 2, Explore Your Options, is about all the different available options, which they can look at different ways by what's available for different ages, or they can look at jobs or courses, apprenticeship vacancies, provider search, etc. And the final stage is when they're using that information to plan their next step. So I'm just going to show you some of the things. For example, we have activities for every year group. So in this stage 1, start with you, there's particular activities that are all tied into the age and stage of the students. So for year 7, it might just be about exploring and understanding more about the different job sectors. Year 9 will be related to options, year 10 to work experience, etc. So for each of these, if the students click on them, there'll be 4 or 5 suggested activities that are good things for them to do in that particular at that particular age. What you'll also find in the advisor zone are introductory presentations that go with each of these year group activities. So a tutor, if they're delivering the year 9 presentation, all the information's there and with notes against each of the slides as well. Those could be downloaded and adapted. So just remember, mention the report. That is compiled by them tagging things as they use the site. And it can be quite detailed by the end. So it really helps in terms of Gatsby 8, because if the students have done this before they have their advice session, then there's lots of information there to support the Careers Guidance Advisor. Also in terms of Gatsby 3, supporting individual students, then you'll find out a lot about your students so you can actually support them with their specific plans. Advisors can also add comments to the report, which will be visible to the student and anybody else in their school or college with access to that student. A new feature which will be available in the next few weeks, so by the end of September 2020, is to also show this information in a summary dashboard. So this will have the top 5 skills or jobs or whatever they're interested in, and that'll be printable. So one other feature I just want to mention, which we've had for some time, but we've just refreshed it. The skills map, as it was now called, is now called the skills profile. There was a pre-16 and post-16 version, but now we're keeping one version that goes right through school. But they do get offered in different entry quizzes, one for Key Stage 3 and 4 and one for post-16. So the way this works is, to start them off, we ask them about the things they've done in their life or learning. They can tick as many of these things as they want to. So as an example, under hobbies, I've kept going with a hobby or sport out of school. And then we'll tell them, if they've ticked that, which skills has probably helped them to develop. Resilience, staying positive, being flexible. So at the end of that, they get a dashboard about their skills, and that shows the skills, how many examples have been generated through the quiz, and what those examples are. And then they can add their own examples. So they can think of other activities they've done out of school or in school and put them in. Just explain the activity, say what skills it's given them, identify whether this is a school activity or out of school. And all their examples will be banked for them. And you can see in that summary of all their skills, there's examples from the quiz and examples that they've generated, and that determines the order of the skills. So for this student, teamwork's at the top because they've got 6 examples. They can also look at how these skills compare to the skills required in a particular job. So they could type in a job like nurse, and then they could actually see the skills required for that job, and then what skills they've got. And they're ready to apply, maybe to a college, or certainly sixth form students use this as preparation for personal statements. They can identify what they're applying for, so it might be a course or a job. Think about the skills they most need to flag up for that specific job. And then they could pull out any examples they've got against those skills and actually write something that's appropriate for an application. So what's to do on the Advisor Zone? This is how you access the Advisor Zone from the top bar of the home page. Just show you some of our new things. So to support Gatsby 4, we've got some subject-specific resources that actually help a subject teacher to link their curriculum to careers. Last year, we had our Key Stage 4 subjects. We've got 23 of those. We've got 23 Key Stage 4 subjects, all related to a specific topic that the teacher will be teaching anyway. But just showing them how they can make it more careers related by giving them links to things like videos or TED Talks or some maybe area of Careerpilot. Now, these are free to access, and you can do that through the Advisor Zone, and you can request a download here. We've just developed for this year 23 Key Stage 5 resources. So they're similar, related to each subject, take about 20 minutes to do by the subject teacher. It will help with Gatsby 4. There is a slight cost for these, and that is determined by whether you're a super user or not. And if you want to go to that page in the Advisor Zone, you can request to hear more about the Key Stage 5 resources. So some career guides, these are new. So we've got a career guide for law. So it's quite detailed. So it's aimed at careers advisors or anybody advising a student who's interested in a career in law or veterinary medicine. And what this does is explain the latest information about pathways. Labour market information's in there too, really good quality links to the things that students will need to know if they're thinking about a career. And we're looking at doing medicine soon as well. We also offer a programme of training. We can come and train in your school. We're doing everything virtually this academic year. So we'll be through a webinar format, through Teams or Zoom. So we can do an introduction to Careerpilot to the whole staff team. They could be at a computer. They can have a play with Careerpilot. For new schools, we'll do a presentation to senior leadership team, like why use Careerpilot. If you're a super user, we'll do a parent session. So if you wanted us to do a sort of introduction to choices of 16 session or something similar, then we could do a session through Teams set up specifically for your parents. You have to be a super user to access that. We do a one-to-one consultation for careers leaders, so we can talk to you directly about your context and explain about how you can implement Careerpilot or make best use of it. If you're a Pathway Planner school, we've got specific video lessons for your Year 11 and 12 students who are using the Pathway Planner. More of that a little bit later. We also have an extensive programme of additional general webinars open to any school or college, and our programme includes things about like this What's New event, specific events for careers leaders, and then particular events related to the Pathway Planner. We do offer the Level 6 Diploma in Careers Guidance, and we have a new course starting on November the 5th, 2020. So if you want to know more about that, it says October. We've actually moved it back to November to give more schools more time to settle in. And we will do the course online this year too, which will be easier for everybody, I think, from their particular context. So our course is a combination of taught sessions. We have masterclasses that take place online, usually every 2 weeks for about 2.5 hours. You will also have to meet some written requirements for the units. But the big thing about our course is we offer individual mentoring of 3 days per attendee. And that mentoring means you can observe a qualified advisor giving guidance. They can observe you and provide feedback. So you will get coached right through the award. And the final thing is you get an assessed observation. It takes about 9 to 12 months to complete the course. If you need to know more, just go to that tile in the advisor zone. So the Pathway Planner I've mentioned a few times. So this was developed with funding from the Careers and Enterprise Company nationally. We bid for funding around the funding. It's a funding stream related to Gatsby 8, personal guidance. So we had to think of a new model of delivering personal guidance. So what we've developed is a model that includes triage. So I'm just going to show you that quickly. So our model, we've piloted it in 6 schools with Year 11s and 12s, and now it's ready to roll out to other schools. So I know you'll be doing lots of things as part of your careers program, so students will be aware of their options. But in this model, on one occasion, they get an hour in an IT room. Maybe Year 11 do it in sort of October, and Year 12 do it maybe in March. And that session will just make sure they understand all the option choices. So it's a structured presentation that explains the option choices. They get some time on Careerpilot to explore the ones they're particularly interested in. And right at the end of the lesson, just for the last 10 minutes, they do the Pathway Planner. So this is an electronic tool that through a quiz format asks them which pathway they're now interested in, having heard all about them. And then they answer some questions about each of the pathways they're interested in. And that gives them a red, amber, green score about how ready they are for that pathway. And those results can be looked at by the careers leader and the guidance advisor to plan the sort of guidance that are going to meet the needs of the students at 3 different levels. Then the guidance takes place, the reports are recorded on Careerpilot, and then 3 or 4 weeks after the guidance, the tutors are asked to follow up by asking 3 questions of the students. And if they're at all concerned about them, they can flip them back into guidance. And to wrap around the whole one-to-one guidance process, in our model, at least 1 lunchtime week is for drop-in. And there's also options for students to request e-guidance, like ask a question, and also to self-refer. So I'm just going to show you some of that quickly. So as I mentioned, at the end of that 1-hour online session, where they're exploring their options, they then do the Pathway Planner. And this is only switched on if you're a Pathway Planner school. They'll see the pathways that are available to them. So if they're Year 11, they'll see the post-16. If they're Year 12, they'll see the post-18. They can identify which pathways they're now thinking of. They could change this at any time. They have to indicate for each of the pathways what they're definitely considering not doing. And then for each one they're definite or considering, there's also a new college version we've just developed too. They do a little quiz. So this is for vocational qualifications, and it asks them some questions. I know what a vocational qualification is. I know what vocational course I want to do next. And each of these questions has a weighting. At the back end, they don't see the score. Some of these questions are red flag questions. And what they get then is a red, amber, green score. So this student is interested in employment and seems to know quite a lot about it, but they're just considering it at the moment. But they're definitely interested in vocational qualifications, but they seem to have a few gaps in their knowledge. So what we would do here, we'd look at these results and say, and always definite trumps, if you like, other pathways. So for this student, we'd say they get amber guidance. And in our pilot project, that was 30 minutes. So everybody's going to get guidance, just as Gatsby requires. There are 3 levels. Greens will get 20 minutes to check their plan and get flipped back into guidance if you're worried about them. Amber will get 30 minutes, and red, or anybody who's got additional need, or think about apprenticeship pathways, that's quite tricky, will get an hour. Then if you are a pathway planner school, in your reporting zone, you have an additional bit, which is the pathway planner bit. You can see the results, and then you can actually allocate guidance according to need. There's particular things you can do from here as well. You can book guidance for students, or record it through the system, and you record when the tutors are followed up, and other things too. But if you're interested in this, you can look at our Pathway Planner tile. If you're interested in finding out more, we do have an introduction to the Pathway Planner session coming up. The next one's October the 20th. Just in terms of accessing the advisor zone, the reporting zone, I should say there, if you want to access the reporting zone, then you can request it through this particular tile. You complete a data sharing agreement, and then we issue your school with a password. And then that means you can see all the data in the back end. So you can see reports on what the students are interested in, job sectors they like. And then obviously if you're a Pathway Planner school, you can see that too. You can also see reports by individual, and you can contribute to the reports by writing advisor comments. Just to explain too, we have user guides for staff on different aspects of Careerpilot, which can be accessed through our advisor zone. One that might be interesting to you if you're a careers leader is we've done a summary of how you can get ready for September 2020, but also showing you how Careerpilot can be used to help students become career ready, but also help you meet the Gatsby benchmarks. So for every benchmark, if it's green, it's what the students can be doing. If it's orange, it's the resources that are available to help you put together a stable careers program. So in this instance, we've got 5-week PSHE programs for every year group of resources. 20-minute careers-related tutor time activities for Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. So those resources are going to be the beginning of you putting your stable careers program together. And you can access that through the advisor zone. So if you need to ask any questions, then you can do that through the helpline, careerpilot@bath.ac.uk, and that's available from 9 to 3 every day in term time. So just to remind you that we have got training available for your school, which you can access here, or some generic webinars that you can sign up for too. And all that is free if you're a Careerpilot school. So thank you so much for listening to this webinar, and do get in touch if you need any additional support.